Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 10 of Code Geass. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So that last episode was something, huh? I mean, introducing narcotics and tying it right into the plot. I mean, unfortunately I didn't notice any Pizza Hut, but I guess I was more distracted when it turned out that the maid Callan had been treating so poorly was in fact her mother. Man. You know, when I went into this, I really only knew Code Geass by its reputation for being, absolutely crazy. And, I can kind of see it now after that last episode. The Guren Dances. And that's an interesting title, if only because Guren makes me think of Gurren Lagann, which is also an anime about giant robots that came out around the same time. Now, this is interesting. It seems like a bunch of people are endeavoring to sign up with the Order of the Black Knights. So this is something. I mean, it was made pretty clear in the last episode that they had already sort of gained popular support. People like them even if the government doesn't. And, I guess that would make sense that other people would want to join up. However, I would think Lelouch would have to be exceptionally careful, because sure, he could just mind control any one of them to be obedient, but I don't know. I feel like you wouldn't want to waste your one chance. Oh, okay. So that's the applicant, and it seems like he's been demoted as a result of the goings-on with Zero. And I mean, there was mention that he might be a spy, which, there's still a possibility, but he could just be actually disgruntled, Stranger things have happened. So based on what they're talking about, the Japanese Liberation Front is still around, even if it is in, I guess, disarray. Alright. So the Order of the Black Knight apparently have their own things now, their own modified Glasgow. Which, that's something, Okay, so Guren, that's, I guess the flagship nightmare frame owned by the Order of the Black Knights. I mean, I feel like if you're doing stuff with giant robots, you can't get away with having, one unique red mech. It's basically a tradition since Gundam. But at the same time, I feel like your best bet isn't to distinguish yourself, I feel like it's a lot easier to get away with things if you can sort of blend into the crowd, even if the crowd are essentially your comrades. Alright. So this is interesting. Kallen gets the Guren Mark II. I would have assumed Zero would have taken it for himself, but I guess, well, his explanation makes sense. You know, he's the commander. You know, the guy in charge here, he wouldn't necessarily be in the thick of things. Even though, you know, I'd imagine he wants to foster the impression that he leads from the front. Alright, so I assume that's, regarding the potential spy. You know, they're in a catch-22, because on the one hand, they certainly can't trust him, but on the other hand, he presents the opportunity to share some very interesting insider information. Now, this region that they're going to, this has sort of come up several times by now as a base for the Japanese Liberation Front. Lelouch is just going there coincidentally, and then some of the powers that be seemingly know that it's the place to be. I do find it interesting that Lelouch actually took off his helmet rather than just sort of opening the eye slit. You know, that seems rather brash, because I guess he does have, like, his nose and mouth covered, but I don't know. It seems like, it almost seems like an unforced error, if that makes any sense. I mean, maybe he's just supremely confident, I suppose. So it seems like the Order of the Black Knights are making a fortification here. They're dragging a bunch of stuff up the mountain. I mean, surely they wouldn't do that unless they plan to dig in. So Cornelia, she's someone we haven't seen very much of, and I guess as things stand right now, she's probably the biggest threat. So Lelouch has probably got some strategy to really give her the business. I mean, considering how things went last time, I'd imagine he's itching for it, you know. His pride would not abide being, outmaneuvered. Okay, so it seems like this is still full out of that hotel hostage situation. You know, understandably, some of these people are rather infatuated with Euphemia, but you know, there is the issue where, like, you can't just go out and meet royalty. You know, I'm wondering what C2's getting at here. I mean, being unable to give up the past, I guess that does make sense, seeing as how Lelouch is seeming to, try and ensnare Cornelia. But I think Lelouch is substantially right here. It's like, you know, they're planning something. You know, why are we discussing philosophy? This isn't the time or the place. And you know, we don't really know what C2's game is. Because, really she just sort of seems to sit around and eat Pizza Hut and, you know, occasionally help out Lelouch. I mean, she came in clutch in one of the previous episodes, but that's about it. Ooh, okay. So it makes sense, you know, they've got the Lancelot in reserve. So I guess the question is, do they actually deploy him? I mean, surely they must, right? When the chips are down? Ooh. Seems like there's a bit of dissension in the ranks here, you know. Questioning Lelouch about whether or not this is really a good idea. But, I mean, this is one of those things where, like, you made the guy the leader, so you should trust him, you know? I mean, perhaps they have reason to doubt him, but even so, I feel like now isn't the time. You know, on the eve of battle, as it were. I mean, considering the forces arrayed against them, this is, decidedly not good. Although I feel like this is, more not good for the Japanese Liberation Front than it is for the Order of the Black Knights. I'm wondering if that's his goal here, to sort of smoke out the Japanese Liberation Front. Because nominally, like, he opposes both of them. Yeah, so the others are making a good point here. Like, we're surrounded in a disadvantageous position, and things don't look good. Oh, that's interesting. You know, claiming that a Messiah will not be recognized unless he performs a miracle. So he set up this seemingly horrible situation, I guess. Yeah, that's rather daring. It's like, okay, if you guys feel like you don't need me, then shoot me, why don't you? So on the one hand, he is right, but on the other hand, that's also something a person who died being shot would say. I mean, it's definitely a ballsy maneuver to just sort of say, like, okay, if you guys don't have faith in me, go ahead and shoot me. I guess the point is, you know, that's a bolder thing to say, and it'll sort of shock him into compliance, rather than to say, if you don't trust me, you guys can leave. Okay. So there are other Japanese Liberation Front assets en route, but in all likelihood, they're not going to make it in time, it seems like. And even if they were to, would they be enough to turn the tables? I mean, it seems doubtful to me. Now, I guess it should be noted that the Britannian forces are sort of surrounding a mountain. And, you know, fighting an uphill battle is an idiomatic expression for a reason. Because fighting an uphill battle is in fact difficult. Alright, so it looks like things are really getting down into it. And, you know, maybe now that they've recognized that the mountain has seemingly been hollowed out and made into a fortress, maybe it would be time to, like, take a more tactful approach. But I guess, that's just not Cornelia's style. I mean, that's something, you know, when you have these giant robots that are capable of, you know, firing large guns and all that, rushing into melee combat, that's something alright. I mean, I can't imagine many people would be able to keep their calm when they're facing down a charging robot like that. Ooh. Okay, so there's some testing going on in this particular area. And it seems military and highly secretive in nature. So I'm wondering if maybe this has to do with Lelouch's overall goal, you know. I wouldn't put it past him, I suppose. Alright, so the Britannian forces are already sort of figuring out the lay of the land here and where the entrance to the base might be. Although I feel like giving Lelouch Geass those two guys, saying like, hey, anything you see that's unusual, ignore it. They might be willing to ignore this, thus allowing for a trap. So I guess it's interesting that all the quote-unquote traitors are sort of relegated to the rear echelon. And, you know, it's clearly not sitting well with the one guy. Like, I don't blame him, because he's sort of been put through the ringer more than anyone else. And we know it's not his fault. But I feel like he might be the crux of this. You know, he does something foolish in an attempt to regain honor and really screws the pooch. Yeah, it really isn't looking good for the Japanese Liberation Front if their sort of secret weapon is still arriving and, you know, reasonably far out. Alright, so this is an interesting change in tone, I guess. You know, everybody seems willing and on board for Zero to manifest a miracle. Ooh. That's a very interesting idea, to capture Cornelia alive. I mean, obviously as a hostage. That's something, you know, that would give him bargaining power. So, I mean, like, killing her would be one thing, but at the same time, if everybody was so upset over Clovis, no doubt they would be very upset about Cornelia too. So I guess, now we're learning about the purpose of all this stuff. I guess, presumably it's going to cause, yeah, like a rock slide. That's something alright. I mean, if you're sort of, up on the top of a mountain, all nice and cozy, if you were to drop an avalanche on your enemies, that would certainly throw a wrench into whatever operation they have going on. Because, I mean, like, no matter how hardy and robust a giant robot is, like, a rock slide is still, like, a prodigiously dangerous thing to get caught up in. So, I mean, like, you know, even if you do survive, you might get buried, and, you know, what then? So I guess the question is, you know, does this warrant sending in the Lancelot? Because, well, what can you do, really? I mean, sure, it might be able to help fortify a sagging line of advance, but, like, what can it do against a rock slide? And I guess what's worse is that the rock slide's falling into the town. Oh. Oh, wow. You know, that strikes me as, rather callous. You know, to sort of destroy the city when you ostensibly care about the people. Like, I was thinking this might serve as a distraction. You know, Suzaku would go and try and help people, as is in his nature. Huh. But I guess the more important thing is that the rock slide has isolated Cornelia from other forces. And Jeremiah, that poor guy, like, he is jumping in. I kind of figured he would, but I can only imagine he's going to be pivotal in screwing things up. I mean, I guess, you know, sure, the Order of the Black Knight is advancing, but from Jeremiah's perspective, there's no guarantee he would be able to find Zero. Yeah, I mean, I guess good on Jeremiah. He seems to be, competent, I suppose, but, Ooh. Ooh, that's bad. For Lelouch to just taunt him like that. I mean, that's sort of like the crux of his whole problem, really. People assume that Orange is his codename, and now Lelouch is, enforcing that. Yeah, now I guess this is interesting in that the 11s seemingly have their own technology that they've been developing. And, you know, it's an unknown quantity. Like, how are they going to deal with it? Honestly, their best bet would probably be to, retreat. Maybe not fight it head on. Especially considering it's a new weapon. Oh, that's interesting. An arm that extends like that. You know, it's not like a rocket punch or anything, but, Ooh. Wow. That is remarkably destructive. Like, I was given to understand it was a radiation weapon, but for it to crumple and boil and distort the nightmare frame like that, that's something. Wow. I mean, he certainly seemed to be suffering from that weapon, whatever it was. Man, I feel like for all the onlookers, that was a rather frightful demonstration of their new weapon. Wow. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.